Hello, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. Today's topic is going to be based upon domestic violence and how people keep that cycling going. It's cycling around and make it worse in all forms of abuse. Now, this is going to be based on the bullying incidents and based on how people respond to victims. This also deals with communication and actions versus words. So, many people think, well, logically, a person will respond to somebody that comes to them for support or to even share their story in a, way that's supportive, that they'll be, they're not going to use it against them, they're not going to do something that will, cause danger to that victim. Very untrue. There's many toxic, what I'll call them twat waffles, because they're all their little holes on their waffle is filled with toxicity, and you'll see that within these slides. I like to teach with the slides so that people can see what I am talking about. The first slides are going to be based upon when Cheryl Snotoil was sending me messages from Booty Lube William, the abuser himself. Now, I mean, it's very obvious when somebody's being abused and being treated badly. That's why I had him blocked. But these people would still, send me messages, threatening messages, and all this stuff. It's like, really? How would that person who they were abused by their ex husband like it if a friend sent them messages? And this person ended up in a hate group with William about me. You know, yeah, what a great friend. I mean, this is why they tell victims don't even tell anybody that knows your abuser where you're going to be, even if they're your friend, because people are that imbecilic, to do that. Even Ken sent me the message, which you'll see in the slides, to be in that group with, Pooty Loop to, make up with him, as the last, planned part of the, abuse cycle to make everybody believe that, he's a good loyal friend, you know what I mean? But yes, this is going to be based upon my private messages with Snot Oil and her sending me messages from Pooty Lube to be in a group with witnesses, so they could see what, you know, yeah, so they can humiliate me, that'd be like me. Basically, what Ken and Cheryl did would be like me having my sexual offenders best buddies there while it's just me by myself and they're supporting him, that, sexual offender, and I'm there while they attack me. Basically, that's the same exact thing that they're doing. Yeah, that's the logic in that. Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm going to go in, this group while, this person abuses me and treats me like crap while all these people just, sit there and watch for the, popcorn show. You know, that's exactly what is happening. That's a, common sense that these people have, And yeah, these people are parents themselves and, geez, it's you would just think it's common sense, but so many idiots out there, and they're so self-centered, and people out there really, do really nasty things, and it's really unbelievable, that these people, do these things. So you'll see that and see why it's so hard on people of all types of abuse. Basically, rape culture goes along with, you know, any type of abuse based upon how people respond to victims, how they treat them. I mean, look at the people in this hate group, like Ken, he's even getting engaged in it, and being despicable and cruel, and saying things about my abuse and stuff like that, saying I lied about this, that, so we're just going to get all into that. So again, I'll be popping in and out with the slides. And the first slides you'll see is with me and Cheryl Snot Loyal and her sending messages from William. And you'll see that she was in a hate group, the first hate group that was about me that William made, Pooty Lube. And, you know, yeah, great friends, just like Ken, he was in a hate group while pretending to be my friend. Great friend, you know? So, see you after these slides. Okay, next up is me and Booty Lube himself in PM, private messages. You'll see how he actually, Jennifer King was an administrator in his cousin discuss group. He actually took her out from being administrator because she was still friends with me, you know. Yet he spread the lies saying that, I told him who he could be friends with. But, just like with, John Paul, he made sure that all his, followers, clan members weren't friends with him. That's what he did with me too. He made sure that the people that were mutual friends with him weren't friends with me, you know. So and I wasn't even that close to Jennifer King, but just because, I was still on her friends list, he kicked her out from being an administrator, you know. Yeah, that's how that's his way of control, and he's been doing this for years. And these people, I mean, the red flags are right there, but just like those clowns at the imbeciles are us, missed all the signs with me and my abuse. It's the same thing with these people. I mean, see how, you know, these twat waffles are, they're really, it's like, it makes me wonder about people. Seriously, it does. The next slides up are me and Pooty Lube in private message. Alrighty, the next slides up is going to be where me, Shitsula, and Chameleon are in PM. Because, guess what? Uh-oh, they're mad at Pooty Lou William. That's right. Always falls back on me, though. Because he always attacks me when any one of them was mad at him and blames me for it. But guess what? It was him himself that made them mad at him when he was acting abusive towards them. So it happens within the, band members too, where he's abusive towards them and does nasty things, basically like he called, John and Ken pedophiles. So, but they'd always come to me because, I was the only one that would actually say something to him. But that, they would end up twisting it around and, lying and saying, it was actually Shelley, and, it ended up falling on me in the end. See, that's where that's gonna be another topic of putting a halt. It's like I'm done helping people, especially like them, because look what they're doing. What was the point of me defending them when, they were being treated badly, when, they always turned on me, even if they knew that I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, look what Ken is doing to me now. I didn't even do anything wrong, but he's going along with that abuse, you know. So why should I be there for somebody who wasn't there for me? That's another topic. But as you'll see in the PMs between me, Sharon, and Jennifer, is that they're upset with Booty Lou William, and I don't blame them because he was being an asshole. But you know what? I really don't give a crap, even if he really brings them down, knocks them on the head. I couldn't give two shits now because they don't give two shits about me. Because look how they're talking about me in a hate group, and heck, they were in a hate group back then too, and that was years back from like 2018. You know, so you'll see that even his clan members would get upset at him, but he'd always attack me. So that's what the next slides are. And the next slide's up is going to be with me and Ken in private message, where he's trying to get me to get into the chat group with the other witnesses for Pooty Loop to drill me again. And you'll see throughout the whole thing is that he lied about the having a hate group, and of course Ken and John Paul are watching this. People watch him lie all the time and say not one word. So that's exactly what happened. So that's why those witnesses are so good. Just like I said, with me, my sexual offenders having to have their best buddies there while he drills me. Yeah, great witnesses. And then you also see where Ken actually lies about being in the hate group and saying, even defending Pooty Lube Williams, saying that there was no chat group about you. Yet I even showed him, you know. But he never apologized for it, and he won't admit it, So, I guess he fits in there, with lying as for that part. But the next slides are of me and Ken and PM together. Next slides is going to be with me and Cheryl, Snot Loyal, and PM. She had told me shortly before this, the last plot that Pooty Loop did, as for going into Ken and Carla's, group and attacking me for the last final, that she left the group because she was sick and tired of watching them abuse me and bullying me. So she had even avoided Carla and Ken's group, she had told me. But out of the blue, she comes out when Pootie Lube did his call out post to attack me. And she PMs me to let me know. I mean, really? It's like, here you are, you tell me that you're trying to avoid these people and staying away from groups that they're in, but all of a sudden you see a bullying post and you're there to watch, sitting there with your popcorn, you know, watching me get, abused. Like, what kind of friend does that? Like I said, those onlookers, they entice the abuser just as much as the others. They are a huge problem. Why even bother coming and just sit there and watch me get humiliated and get abused, and not say anything and be the bigger person? That's exactly what she did. Oh, because I don't like dealing with bullies. I'm afraid. It's like, then get the hell out of here. That'd be the same as walking in on somebody getting abused, your friend, and just standing there and watching them getting abused. You want your popcorn so you can watch them get abused. I mean, really. These are, that's why I said, twat waffle toxicity. It's really ignorance, that people have, and this will even show when Ken was still the friendly nerd when he was in LDAA, but then, he was kind of he was becoming a follower more. And, he had mentioned something about, based on Shitsula's post that was basically about Cheryl and putting her down based on some BS, some twisted BS. Of course, Ken got involved, with becoming a follower and, getting involved in engaging in that abuse, Yeah, you're better off with, a Jennifer than a Cheryl. It's like, yeah, you're with a psycho-abusive twat waffle, I hope you're enjoying the piling there, with all the sharp-filled balls that they're stuffing in your pants, Ken. Yeah, those are really great people. So at least you know a Jennifer now that's a psycho abusive nut job, not just a Cheryl, right? So, anyways, this just shows that these people, they encourage it and enable this abuse to continue. What kind of friends are these? And you saw how even Ken, he, boom, Pootie Lube, he's not going to defend me. It's like he told me to, in the previous slides, to just leave the, chit chat group if he becomes, nasty to you. It's like, geez, thanks, like, the Grim Reaper came, in that survey, it would have been changed the, outcome, because if Ken was in it, then the situation, would be the men that they would be pointing the fingers at, that they would be the ones to, be toxic and say, take her. And that's exactly what Ken would be in that situation. It doesn't even deal with gender. I mean, it's that person as a whole, as who they are as a person, as to whether they have the personal integrity to do the right thing, no matter who is involved, like my friend Beth had taught me, because I even told her how, he was in a hate group and stuff like that. She's like, what kind of friend does that? Same with my therapist. She's like, anybody that was in that hate group is not your friend, and just like John Paul is telling me now, he's saying he didn't even tell you about the hate group. He didn't even admit to it. He's like, that's not a friend, and they're right. He even lied to me based about being in that hate group, because he wasn't, all those, sharp-filled balls in him is keeping him down, and under, that he's piling up in his pants, the sharp, twat-filled balls of being a coward and loving to abuse people, that he can't even, be big enough to apologize. I mean, that's even, it's funny, people actually think that he would apologize to me, like asking me if he would. It's like, really? So next slide's up is when Snot Loyal Cheryl just comes back for the popcorn party, telling me about, Pootie Lube is abusing you again and bullying, and telling me to be nice about her or tell the truth. I've told the truth, and she was in that truth group. So everything I'm showing now is exactly what these people have seen, including Ken and Cheryl. Yet, did anybody say one single word about that truth? No, because lies usually win over the truth most of the time. that's where my chapter with truth versus lies, lies usually do win. And most people are assholes and will engage in abusive behaviors because, again, being an asshole is easier than being the bigger person. So there's very, very few people that have personal integrity to do the right thing no matter who is involved. See you after these slides. Next slide's up is going to be where Pooty Lube drills me. It was really quite funny because at the time Pooty Lube had me in a hate group where he was having a, you know, hate group based upon Ken, John, and Michaela because they were pissed off at him for, saying that they're pedophiles. And, me being the friend that I am, I found it disgusting because that's one thing I never did is I was never in a hate group of somebody that was my, friend, that respected and trusted me, not to be in a hate group. I mean, it's real despicable, Like Ken was in a hate group about me, and so was Cheryl, Sharon, Jennifer, all of them. What kind of friends are those? Just like, even, my friend Beth told me, she's like, when I told her that Ken was in a hate group, she's like, well, that shows that he has no personal integrity, you know? And that's, she's absolutely right. These people have no personal integrity, to stand up for what's, right, So when I was in that, hate group that Pooty Lou William made about, Ken and John that were my friends at the time, I was, disgusted. So I showed John, that's what he's pissed at me about. Yet I found out from John right after that he had a hate group about me too, because John showed me. At least he was the bigger person. I'm like, Ken in that situation where it's called lies out of omission that my friend told me. Here he is acting like my friend, yet he's in a hate group about me. So I give a thumbs up to John Paul for at least telling me, just like, it's just, I mean, that's just crazy to be in a hate group about somebody when you're pretending, it's like you're pretending to be their friend. I mean, it's really, I have no idea where these people get their ideas of how to treat people. And, you know, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't be in a hate group watching people talk down about somebody that respects me and trusts me, and then pretend to be their friend. I couldn't do it. But I guess people, it's easy for so many people to, it's called lies out of omission. It's still lying, you know. To me, it's really despicable. But that's what the next slides are about. Is William pissed at me because I shared the screenshots of the hate group to John Paul. Yet he has me in a hate group. I really didn't give a crap if he knew that I shared the screenshots or not. It was quite funny. I was laughing. I was like, aha. See you after these slides. And the next slides is going to be of Ken and showing how he's doing the same despicable things with the same people that he called despicable for doing the same things to me. So the next 3 slides are going to be of that. Okay, the next 3 slides are going to have, where on the left is from 2023, this year, as from the hate group that you've seen from the recent incident, and on the right side is going to be comparison as to showing what certain people have said in the past years compared to what Publicity Diarist is going by now in 2023. So this is going to be showing where Hate Eradicus Haley had actually gotten a woman fired from her job in real life because she's pro-choice. And she thinks that, people who are pro-choice are dangerous and shouldn't be allowed to be around children. So, she might, end up getting Ken fired, because he's pro-choice. Anyways, so, and then certain other slides are also going to be from previous years where you'll see where he, actually defended me against these same people that he's now in a hate group with and degrading me for things that he himself was against. So you'll see the certain slides where he was going after someone named Janet and she's a follower, and that's where he was defending me. So it's to compare to from that year to this year as to the people that he defended me against, but now is doing the same things that he found them despicable for. So, see you after these slides. Now, the next slides, this is going to be where they are showing screenshots of Ashley Trent and, trying to clear her. So Michaela, the Cetrus, what a great friend, she ends up, sharing screenshots of her and Ashley Trent, questioning her if she gave me screenshots and blah, 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 you know. But she was only doing that for Pooty Loop, 'cause she's the, cult leader sister, she's doing a little job for the, you know. And Ashley can't stand William. She knows that he's an abuser. She's even admitted that, both Carla and Michaela, have seen Pooty Loop Williams' abusive ways, Even Carla admits in the text messages, she thought I was talking like Pooty Loop or William, she got all like, ugh, So it's like he abuses the clan members too, and there's actual, proof of that. And then you'll see where, John actually is the bigger person, because he's not a twat sucking, coward, like Ken, and he actually, stood up to William Pooty Loop, for being a pussy ass coward, I'll say, and being an asshole, abusive asshole to people for no good reason, just because he enjoys it. So that's why he became an outcast, because he became the bigger person. So he's actually the first person, like I said, to become the bigger person. I mean, right now, Ken has a bunch of shark, filled balls, that they're stuffing his pants with, Heteradicus and Shitsula with their, mental, psycho, abusive stuff, because he likes piling on those types of people, if you know what I mean. Anyways. So you'll see that, and with the, new hate group and everything that, John is now an outcast of, It's like, I'm sure he's really sad, that he's out of that abusive clique, They're really great friends, So, see you after these slides. Okay, the next slides is going to be hard because this is where I'm going to bring in the victims and DV victims and why it's so hard for them to come out and base it on my own personal story. Okay, so as I've stated before, Ken was the first person that I had trusted, which is actually very true. So one thing I did that was the hardest thing for me to ever do. I mean, sure, I've talked about the bad things that my abusers did to me, but I never specifically stated it in a way that, like, I know that it's abuse. And actually, Ken is the first one I actually told in my whole life in the way that I did. So, I'm gonna have to backtrack. The first time I was raped when I was 15, I'll be completely honest, it was right after I got raped. I had a friend with me. The scariest part of that day was the thought of telling my abusers. And that was where my friend, I remember her saying, are you going to tell someone? Let your parents know. And I mean, that was the main thought in my head. It wasn't even the rape that just happened, that I just escaped after being drugged and raped. It was a part of telling my abusers. So she finally convinced me to at least tell one of them. I decided to tell my sister. Well, my sister didn't believe me and accused me of being a drug addict when I never used drugs willingly. It was because the rapist had drugged me and raped me. So my sister ended up going to the rapist's home. It was somebody I knew from school, and asking him, with her fiance with her, if he raped me. Yeah, sure. Let's go to the rapist's house and ask him if he did it. you know. So, yeah, that was very hard. And even years later, my sister would tell me, you know, you're lying. You were never raped. My parents did end up telling me many years later, in my late 30s, my mom told me actually, that they found out that I told my sister what happened, and that, she said, oh, we were very mad at her. Well, that's where it's very hard for the victim to come out, especially in my case where I already had abusers at home that would use it against me, and they did. They ended up putting me in a mental institute. The reason why is because I ended up skipping school a couple times, and that was due to the abuser goes to my school, and I was so ashamed about what happened to me, and I didn't want anybody to know that that happened to me. So I avoided school. They ended up putting me in a mental institute just for me skipping school. That's not a reason to put somebody in a mental institute. So that's where I totally lost trust with my father. Anyways, so when I had gone to Ken, in the slides it'll show that I was even afraid to let anybody know that I was talking to Ken after that last bullying incident, because I was afraid that something would happen. But it ended up where Carla was on the phone with me when I was getting attacked by my parents' dog again. So she was a witness. So I was stuck in a hard spot. So uh, I was like, okay, I guess it wouldn't hurt that she just told Ken. That way, he would know and she would be a witness, if necessary. So she was guessing of who it would be. I didn't even tell her who it was yet because I was afraid to even tell her that it was Ken. And, she guessed Michaela and Haley. Like, yeah, okay, sure, I'd trust them to talk to them about, my abuse. So I, I did end up letting her in my group, which are, people say go by your gut instinct. But you know what? I mean, you can know somebody for many years and they could turn on you. So it's almost like blaming the person. Like, why'd you share so much with someone you barely know? It's like, well, you know what? I mean, I've known people for years and they betray me many years later. There's people that you could just meet that are more trustworthy than people you've known for years. And that's just how it is. It's not the person's fault. It's not my fault that Ken ended up, you know, ruining my trust and hurting me the way he did. I didn't make that choice for him to do what he did. He's in a group where they're, you know, degrading me based upon my abuse, and going along with it. Even saying that, he hopes that I end up back with my abusers. That was really cold, you know, because what happened when I went to him, I was actually afraid, but for the first time in my life, I actually felt comfortable telling somebody, and that was him. I just it was a gut instinct. It just and from what I've known of him and how I felt comfortable talking to him, so he's actually the first person that I ever talked in detail and actually went to, because at the time my abusers, they didn't even want me to send emails or pictures of the or take pictures of the dog bites where the dog bit into my skin. And it was the second time it happened. And I mean, they got mad at me because I even sent a picture of it happening to my sister, a picture of the bite, and they got mad at me. So they abused me because I did that. And so I finally showed Ken because it wasn't healing. And he in time he realized what was going on. And by the third time, even he said, he was like, wow, they're keeping the dog after it bit you 3 different times. It was because, like I said, I was having panic attacks when I woke up after having nightmares because of the trauma of being falsely Baker acted myself. Even though the dog did something wrong, I just couldn't bear, her being locked up. So, he told me that isn't love. I mean, he's right, but you know what? It's not really a good person who would do what he did to me and say those things, especially after somebody trusted them and actually came forward. They're sitting there acting like, I'm, some proud, person about what happened to me, when actually it's extremely shameful. Like the incident with Mike Barscom, I'll be honest, I was afraid to bring it out in the group even then, but then I felt more comfortable knowing that Ken was going to be there. But again, you seen in that, group with Ken where William brought up Mike Barscom saying that he was going to make a group telling people that I wanted to, F that person. When in actuality, I was lying to them about me and Mike. Sorry. Me and Mike Barcombe, because I knew I didn't trust them. I didn't want to admit that something else bad happened to me. Because it was shameful to me. Even though he was just sending me dick pictures, I didn't want them, of course. But I didn't want people to know that was happening to me. Just like I didn't want people to know that I was raped. And I didn't want to go to school because I didn't want people to know that. So, you know, it's not something that you're proud of. God, it's not something you're proud of. But the way that people respond and how they treat you after, and whether they hold it against you, is very hard. I mean, Ken ended up being the first person that I actually trusted to actually say and felt safe, telling them, which was very, you know, sentimental to me, because I never felt that way with anybody I knew. I mean, I've had friends that found out years later, even like my best friend in high school, I didn't even tell her. And I'd known her for years after that happened. And she's like, you just like totally disappeared. I even avoided friends that, I had known for years because I was so afraid that they'd find out that I got raped. And this happened to me, my friend Gloria, from, middle school through, high school. And when that happened, she's like, you just like totally disappeared, because I caught up with her in my 30s, when I was in my mid 30s. And we got together and saw each other again. And she even asked me, she's like, what happened? You just disappeared. So I told her. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I was too ashamed. She's like, I would have helped you. You know, I mean, I know she says that she would help me. It's like now when people say that, I'd be there for somebody and support them if they came to me about abuse, I honestly don't believe them. I mean, look at what these people are doing in this hate group. Look at what Ken did. I mean, the other people, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just used to people doing these things. And that's why it was, a hush hush with the incident with, as William calls them and certain others, bar scum. He's done it to other people too. I did lie, I made it out like, yeah, I liked him, but I really couldn't stand him. And, of course, I didn't want them to know what happened, but they did, he still uses that against me. Even though Ken knows the truth, he still sat there and watched, William make threats that he's going to make a group to, humiliate me, saying that I wanted to F, that guy. So, I mean, it's not something I'm proud of, and actually, I'm extremely hurt, and I feel extremely stupid that I actually, trusted somebody. So that's why it's hard for me to feel like, I want to, ever want to trust somebody ever again. Because, like I said, Ken was the first person I trusted, and here he is, in a group where they're degrading me about my abuse, and even worse, degrading me as a person, saying I'm mental and ugly and all types of stuff, you know. I mean, that's what I mean, toxic twat waffles out there that make it so hard on people such as myself to ever open up. So, just like they say that, they always say when we're in mental health classes, that, the police aren't trained the same way as us, they'll question the victim and say, what were you wearing? Where were you? How late was it? Were you with somebody? Blaming the victim, you know. But look at society and how these people handle it. Even people that were victims themselves in that group are degrading me based upon my abuse, And the one person that I actually trusted and actually came forward about my abuse in more detail, in a more open and honest way, for the first time in my life, look what they did to me recently. So, it bring back memories even of my abusers, because there were other incidents too, even after that one with my sister, as to where my abusers blamed me for the incident happening. And that would be in another topic video based upon that. But I just wanted everybody to know, based upon these slides and based upon, Ken, as to why, what happened had affected me so negatively. You know, again, it was the first person I trusted and the first person I actually opened up to completely, based upon the things that happened to me, based upon my abuse. And they ended up breaking that trust. So, as that person had taught me that they gave up on trusting people because they know how much it hurts when that person betrays your trust, I know now, understand what Ken meant by that, because it did hurt a lot, you know. So the next slides are going to be based upon of me, coming to Ken based upon the abuse, and it'll even show a part where he was an LDAA, and I found it really neat. It was interesting, because you don't see this too often, where my nickname was Shelley Belly Full Jelly, and my aunt gave it to me, and he's like, well, that's just mean, and I told him what really bothered me, like I had brought up the guys down the street where they called me Schwarzenegger. I said that's what bothered me the most. But what's really mean is, betraying somebody who actually, trusted and respected you, and actually, saying stuff like he did, he's still doing in those hate groups based upon me. I mean, that's what's really despicable. That friendly dork that said, oh, that's mean. Look what, he's doing. What he's doing is extremely cruel and despicable. So that's why it affected me so negatively. And, that's why I seen him as the way he, was that friendly dork, until he started getting under the hood, and becoming, into the abusive behaviors. So, that's what you'll see in the next slides, is that, and, me talking about, Carla and him, having her tell him that she was a witness to it, and also the dog incident. So it's based on the friendly dork that I once, or what I thought he was. And like I said, I really don't know what he is now. So one should really think about, you know, what their response is to people, you know, who are victims or come up to them and tell them things, and if, you use it against them, no matter how mad you are at them, that's pretty sad. But you know what? In my case, yeah, I did, finally let out what, Shitsula and, you know, them two were going after me about, and other people, because you know what? It's about time they had a taste of their own medicine, you know. And just like, Ken taught me, you know, you're nice, you're too nice because you choose to. And that's right. I'm gonna not go by what that Bible says, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I'm gonna do unto others as they do unto me. Period. You know, because I'm not gonna sit back here and just accept, maltreatment and, just take it and accept it. No, I'm going to defend myself. Just like you're allowed to defend yourself physically, I'm going to defend myself verbally against emotional, psychological, and verbal abuse. It goes both ways for me now. So, enjoy the next slides, and I'll see you afterwards. Okay, that's the ending of that. Yeah, that was a lot of slides, and this was a long one. But I think it's very important to show the stuff that you're teaching to really, for people to understand and see it. Because I really want people to understand, bullying better. And I really hope that this helps the mental health field, you know, and even teachers and others, even parents, to really see this, you know. So as you can see, how, actions and words are pretty much equal, you know. People will say, that they'll show that they care. You've seen that when he was unsure and Wizard, he seemed to be very empathetic and caring, you know. But then, the actions of him being in a hate group and going back to me, it's those are the actions. Him being in a hate group, doing that, saying this to me, so they changed very quickly. Actions and words, they're pretty much the same, you know. And also, like, with, communication, you know, people communicate their feelings and how that person responds to them, you know, that's very important, especially for people who are, victims of abuse. You know, you've seen how Ken responded to me, and it was calm, and, he did respond well. But then again, you know, the way he communicated to me was that, you know, I could trust him, and based on how he spoke to me and his actions, because you know what, like I said, I had shared something with him that, even the people I knew longer than him, I never shared with, you know, and he knows that. But you know what? He ended up years later, this was way back in 2019. He never shared it. And then I shared more with him. And then all of a sudden, he ended up in the bullying incident again. And he ended up, betraying my trust, based on lies, you know. And John Paul, I even asked him, I said, even, with all this evidence that that didn't happen, I was like, you actually think he believes these lies still? This BS? And he's like, he said, yeah. He said, I'm pretty sure he still does, And I know he's right, because that's just how it is, I've seen this happen so many times where people just believe the lies, or actually, I don't even think they even believe them. They just enjoy that abuse cycle. And as you can see, people sending messages to me, from this person, after seeing this, person, the way they talk to me, they see it in groups, this person is abusive. It's very obvious. And you can see that I noticed this years ago based on Pootie Lou William, I even tell them, So it's like these signs of abuse, see, people miss these signs of abuse, the red flags, just like the imbeciles at the Clowns R Us field, from mental health. How many times they missed, red flags that are like right there in front of their face, you know? That's the types of people. These people that, are in these, bullying clans, and the way that people respond to victims, that's exactly what the imbeciles of Clowns R Us school, the mental health field people that I dealt with, almost all of them. I mean, look how long it took before they finally did something, and these red flags are right there, you know. That's one thing it's easier to notice these red flags when you're not the victim yourself, It's like I could spot it just like that, with certain things, it was much easier, of course, in the bullying cult clan for me to notice the signs even when I was getting abused. But, with my abusers in real life, of course, heist, the glorified, parent role, you know, and it was much different because it was pushed onto me as though that's just how it is and to accept it. So you see, sending messages, you see why victims are told to not even tell anybody that knows their abuser, even if they're friends, where they're going to be out of safety. Because look at these idiots sending me messages, from the abuser, like, yeah, he wants me to be there with all the witnesses that are on his side so he can attack me and humiliate me. Gee, thanks. Yeah. So, and you see how the, tactics of abuse are very similar. Like, the doxing and whatnot that Pootie Lube used from like years ago. He ended up, upping it up, some, and using Ken and lying to him and saying that I doxed him, getting that lie going. It all starts from the ringleader, to bring those lies out, and they get their cult clan members to, do the dirty work, just like Carla was the one that said I was doxing him, or she even came up with it just to impress her master. That's just how they work, you know. But these are the, great friends, that you have in those cult clans, if you know what I mean, you know. And look how, it's hard for a victim to, trust anybody because of people like this. I mean, look what Ken did. He's the first person I trusted, the first person I really opened up to in most detail as to things I was always in the past afraid to open up to people, other people about, you know. And look what happened. So it's, I mean, just like I said, you can know somebody for years and they could betray your trust, you know, over somebody that you just met that would be probably more trustworthy than them. You just never know. So, that was my lesson learned from, Ken, based on what he's told me about himself personally, is that he doesn't want to get hurt because when you trust somebody, it hurts a lot. And, now I see why it's really not worth it. I don't trusting somebody and feeling safe with them, yes, it's a good feeling, but it's not worth it because the pain of that trust being broken is really not worth it to me. So I'm very cautious around people now, and I don't actually at this time, and I have no thoughts of future of trusting somebody like that ever again because of what happened in the recent bullying incident as to what he had done and what he had said about me and those, cruel, despicable things, and also going along with the, putting me down about my abuse and whatnot, which is really, you know, that's what like I said, the toxic twat waffles out there full of toxicity. So I hope that people learn things from these slides and based on what I've been teaching and how people make that abuse cycle continue. So I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. I'll see you next time.